The influencer MAGA Civil War thing is really striking to me because, you made an absolutely brilliant point earlier, and I'd never thought of it that way. And it's making the book.
Yeah.
Because you made a point that the influencers, in some ways, are reflecting more power over the way the more normie parts of the Republican coalition see Trump than the MAGA parts. The MAGA parts are sticking. A third of them are going to never move.
Yeah.
A third of them are unhappy but never going to move, and a third of them are now in motion.
Yeah.
So
I want to talk about Tucker Carlson specifically for a second.
Yeah. Healing of the Epstein, I call this.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Literally.
Well, I mean, first of all, what are we doing here? He said he was portraying himself as a Red Cross doctor.
Sure.
And it's just insane.
Yeah.
But so Tucker's
I'm a wizard.
Tucker's, I think, an important point here.
Yeah.
Tucker becomes big on Fox News. And we know who watches Fox News. It's normie Republicans, boomers. It's, the sort of
suburban Republican baseline.
Right. Not the rally going MAGA crowd. They were already watching One American News. They were watching they were watching Newsmax and the War
Rumble
and War Room. They're on Rumble.
Yeah.
They're nuts.
Yep.
And they're still committed to Trump in a major way. But I think what you see is that the influencers that are breaking with him are having more of an impact on normie Republicans. And Megyn Kelly is another good example of this. Somebody who comes from the Fox News orbit probably drew a significant part of her audience from Fox News, honest to God. And they're all nuts, of course, but I don't think that Tucker has the same influence on MAGA, although they were, they were tearing their shirts when they were fighting. They were having this, all these MAGAs were weeping and begging Trump to stop fighting with the influencers. Please, sir, these people love you. You can't betray them. I think that's mostly astroturfed. Most MAGAs are still with Trump through and through, although there is a small section of them that are peeling off, which we think is between 1/5 and 1/6.
Right.
And maybe you can make a different argument with somebody like Nick Fuentes, who's much more popular with the younger gripper crowd, the Hitlerites online.
Right.
But then the problem with Nick Fuentes, I think, in this break with MAGA, is that he wants a new movement, America First, to be something distinct. The problem is that Nick Fuentes is totally full of shit and doesn't believe a word that he says. And he has no charisma. And Donald Trump formed the MAGA movement with different materials than what Nick Fuentes is trying to build of the America First movement with. He's not splintering off from the Republican Party in the same way that Trump did. Nick Fuentes is trying to be the third rail.
Trying to be a kingmaker for another party.
It's ridiculous. And he doesn't have the motion, and nor does Trump. This is all sort of out of their hands now. And the influencers and the MAGAs can cry and beg Trump to try and heal the divide. But I think in some ways they've lost control of their own coalition. And they just have no means of putting it back together.
I think that's exactly right, because parts of the coalition wanted a ongoing culture war.
Mm-hmm.
And they really haven't gotten that much of it out of Trump in this term. And those same culture war people have been turned off by the golden ballroom bullshit. And now this apostasy across the board, because that photo or that AI image he posted, and nobody's buying the whole it's a doctor thing. That got a lot of evangelicals very upset, including some that we know pretty well, who are just like, nope, I'm done. That's it.
Yeah.
Cut it off.
And it is a shock to me that is where they drew the line. I mean, he's been blaspheming for his whole life. And he has clearly no respect for religious people.
No.
70% of the country say that Trump is not religious at all.
Is that our assistant?
She's asking me to turn something on. I can't tell you what. No idea. Well, she wanted me to answer the phone. Either way, they know he's not religious. They know he doesn't care for religious people. And, you know, most people know he's taking advantage of them.
Right.
But it is a shock to me that this is really where they had to draw the line, because it's been so obvious.
Sure.
He doesn't make
for
a
a long
secret
time.
of his disdain for people of faith of any variety.
No, and no matter how many times Pastor Paula brings a bunch of guys into the Oval Office, Trump thinks of evangelicals as weak-minded.
Yeah, he thinks they're crazy. So this spat with the Pope is fascinating and probably very bad for him.
Or at least some of their religious beliefs.
It's just crazy.
That's cold comfort right there.
No,
at least some.
and you know, they know Trump is secretly pro-abortion. You know, he's secretly not.
They know he's an adulterer. They know he screwed porn stars. They know he's paid hush money to whores.
And he's, you know, describing him as faithful would just be comical. I mean, and you know, he's fighting with the Pope. And I know that Protestants might love this, but there's a lot of Catholics in this country, and I know we tend to say American Catholics and think of Hispanic voters, especially here in Florida. Not the case, actually. Most Catholics in the country are old white people,
working class white voters, and they're in
Pennsylvania, New York,
Pennsylvania, Ohio,
New Jersey,
Michigan,
really
Wisconsin.
critical states.
Yeah.
And he's scrapping with the Pope, and obviously.
So why don't we play the clip of? Why don't we play the clip of Trump going at the Pope?
A approval standpoint, who's better positioned right now in the United States among American Catholics?
You know, maybe President Trump is jealous of Pope Leo XIV because it is a blowout. It is a blowout, and this is just the American public at large, John. Look at this. It is a blowout in the net popularity rating. Pope Leo XIV at plus 34. Look at where Donald Trump is at minus 12. It's not even close.
Sad.
It's a nearly 50-point blowout amongst the American public at large. Pope Leo XIV absolutely crushing President Trump when it comes to how popular they are, at least as of the last month. And I will note that Pope Leo was the most popular person tested by NBC News. I believe the president is making a humongous mistake going after the most popular guy in America, at least well-known guy.
You know, I think this is a fascinating.
That's going to drive Trump so out of his.
Oh yeah, it's going to make him.
That's going to eat him alive.